Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Redmen TV and your post-match reaction to Liverpool 2, Wolves 1. Yeah, what do we make of that? Ultimately, 3 points, job done. Game of two halves in many ways. Liverpool good for the first 45, less so for the second 45, I think it's fair to say. Just didn't really get going at all in the second half, apart from one or two moments offside, obviously a penalty overturned on VAR, rightfully so, in my opinion. But yeah, let's talk about it. Just really lackluster, really disappointing second half display from the Reds. Yeah, let's try and unpack and uncover why exactly that was. This is the part of the day where you have your say on what we've just watched, and it wasn't great. Let's be honest, it was not great. 7 points clear, top of the league. Let's start with the positives, which is good. Luis Diaz involved in some goals, which is good. Mo Salah inevitably involved in goal action as well, which is just what he does. But yeah, to put in such an underwhelming and below par display in that second half, it's certainly when you think about what's to come in terms of Aston Villa in midweek, in terms of Man City next, we've got to be so much better than that. And Al Jabroy kicks us off with, yes, my God, that was Jekyll and Hyde 2 halves. Was expecting a hiding, got a panic attack. Never stop loving this team. No, absolutely. I'm with you on the panic attack front as well. That final 10-15 minutes was not pretty at all. It was squeaky bum time. And every time Wolves attacked, it felt like something was inevitably going to happen. And I think a lot of that is born out of our most recent lived experience of watching Liverpool try and hold on to leads late on. And it did feel as though history was about to repeat itself. I can't lie to you. A lot of credit to Wolves in terms of their response to the second half, because a lot of teams would have come to Anfield, gone 2-0 down in the circumstances that they did, and been outclassed a little bit in the first half and gone, well, that's that then, our race is ran. But none of it. They kept going and they showed the quality. Lovely Matheus Cunha goal, like sublime Matheus Cunha goal. But yeah, at the same time, from pretty much minute one in the second half, we were sloppy. We were loose in possession. Couldn't string 3 or 4 passes together at times. It was just poor. Really poor. And again, somebody a moment ago mentions Diogo Jota. And I even sort of in isolation that moment, because that's a chance to wrap the game up. That, like, the counter-attacking football up until that point is probably the best football we played in the entire half, to be honest. And Jota inexplicably decides to initiate the contact himself. His man's committed. He's sold him. He's cut inside. The chop is perfect. Finish the job. Like, stay on your feet, finish the job, or alternatively, let it run across you and Diaz in a better position. Instead, he leaves his man and then makes the touch happen and goes down for it's never a penalty. And the ref, we don't say this often, but the ref actually is right to overturn it, and he gets the right call this time. This is an interesting point, and one that did dawn on me sort of midway through the half when it wasn't going to plan and we were on the ropes. Champions or potential Premier League champions win games of footy like this when you're not at it, when for whatever reason things just aren't quite clicking, and it went from one to another, like I say, one extreme to another. But yeah, you do often just find yourselves going, got away one there, wiping down your forehead and moving on. And that's kind of what we've got to do now from a Liverpool point of view. We can unpick the negatives from it, and we will, and Arne Slot will almost certainly do the same. But in terms of what it actually means in the bigger picture, it is just to get away with it and move on. I don't understand Jota at all. I really don't. Because he is normally the exact man you want in that situation. You know, finishing off a counter-attack that Liverpool have actually executed brilliantly. But yeah, really disappointing. Do you know what? This is a great point, because the bench today stood up big style. That Joel Quansah intervention at the end that's 3 points then and there. That's that. Like, the Salah pen's obviously something. Diaz's goal's obviously something. But that Joel Quansah tackle, it's just incredible. And from a lad who's been much maligned this season, from a lad who's been written off by some of the season. I seen somebody the other day tweeting about the fact, some high-profile account tweeting about the fact he needs to go out on loan, he's not ready. Make of it what you will and have a wider conversation around Joel Quansah if you really need to. But that today, is proof of how invaluable he still is to this squad. Honestly, like, just a huge, huge moment. And likewise, we've indebted to Alisson Becker as well earlier on. And nobody's questioning Alisson Becker in quite the same way. But still, one-on-one, there's just nobody better in the world. And he proved to us today he still very much has it. If anybody was doubting that, of course. Couple more chats here. Let's go to Marcus Ward. Absolutely horrid performance. Don't think we deserve to win today. But at this stage, you take those. You absolutely do. This is 100% a draw away from home. Oswald says, we will win the league, Endo and Quantum. And Endo shutting the game down late on. Gave away one cheap free kick, which did my head in, to be honest with you, because we had like 3 Liverpool bodies around the ball. We didn't need to dive in at that point. But the Endo, again, coming up with all the experience, all his nous, all his game management late on, just to make sure we got over the line there. Absolutely massive. Absolutely massive. So important. And the amount of rivals that would have been queuing up, waiting for that Wolves equaliser late on. I'm just so relieved, ultimately, to get over the line and make sure we got 3 points. Godfather says, Quan's a challenge at the end, saved the goal, made up for the lad. Absolutely. True again, hate it or love it, these results win titles. Yeah, they do, and let's hope that's the case in this time. Eric said, the lads were tired in the second half, nothing but possibly. If they're tired now, though, that doesn't bode well for us to come, does it? Like, they've got to regroup and re-energise themselves somehow, because there's a huge fortnight of football coming off of Liverpool, and that second half display was way short. Whether we thought it was over, whether we thought, a bit of complacency crept in, I'm not sure. We could take our foot off the gas. Again, credit to Wolves, because they certainly didn't allow us to do that. We cannot play like that. If we produce any more 45 minutes like that against Villa, City, Newcastle thereafter, they will punish us. And we were fortunate for large parts of that second half that Wolves didn't quite have the quality to punish us more often. I mentioned the one-on-one save Alisson makes. They got into our final third lots and lots. And too often, for their point of view, they didn't quite have what it takes to make a tangible, proper chance out of it. Cunha is the exception to that, of course, with what he's able to do from the edge of the box. I think, again, a Villa, a City, etc., will hurt you more often than that, to be honest. Does that mean to say invisible? I feel like that's meant to say invisible. I hope you do mean invincible, because he takes his pen lovely. Somebody a moment ago made the point about him being offside and how it's sort of indefensible. I kind of agree, because he can see pretty much everyone he needs to be behind, and he could even potentially stay in his own half, and you can't be offside in your own half, of course. So, the frustrating moments in that second half do stem from Salah, and they stem from Jota, because I think both of them, if it's a little bit smarter or the decision making slightly altered, he could stay on side and he could stay on his feet, and it might have been a different story. Make that 3-0, make that 4-0 even. That's game over. That is, then Wolves are throwing in the towel. The longer it stayed 2-0, and the more encouragement we give Wolves that there was still a game of football on, that's when Wolves capitalised on it. And made it far too nerve-wracking for my liking. Far too nerve-wracking. It was disappointing. I never liked to see any players dive, to be honest with you. And again, certainly not when Diogo Jota seemingly had the goal at his mercy. There was no need for him to go down in that instance. Like, he's done the hard bit. He's sold his man. If he stays on his feet, cuts inside, he's getting a shot away. And he's getting a shot away one-on-one. And he's got that killer instinct that normally you'd see Diogo Jota take that chance. Because he's not even on pens. He's not going to get himself up and take it. He's done. His job there is done. Stay on your feet and finish the business, mate. Did my head in, to be honest. Did my head in. And especially, again, when he's a purpose-built goal scorer. That's literally what he does by definition. And yet still. Robert, listen, I'm not overly negative. I said right at the top, we got the job done, 7 points clear, etc., etc. Loads of positives to take from it in terms of that. But I'd be disingenuous if I sat here and said, what a performance, weren't we boss second half? It's bullshit, isn't it? And ultimately, I'm led by what the chat says, and I'm just going off you guys. I completely agree with the Quanta stuff, though. Unbelievable. I'm so happy for him. I've been disappointed by the amount of Liverpool fans that have been quick to write him off and quick to say he's not good enough for this level, etc., etc., etc. Given the fact that rewind 12 months, whatever, and we were all singing his praises and saying he was ahead of Canate in the pecking order, he was the man to usurp Joel Matip and be the replacement for Van Dijk at some point, etc., etc., etc. And now seemingly wasn't good enough, but yet still he still comes up good, and he still comes up with the big moments as well where necessary. Alex Campbell says, despite our performance against Plymouth, I think Slot needs to rotate more, to be honest, if we want to make it to the end of this 14-game stretch. Yeah, possibly. His tapping into the squad is going to be pivotal. And again, the bench comes up good today, comes up big today for us. So, yeah, this were only one game for many. Don't worry. Yeah, I mean, Nunes head inside the area. Nunes was... Yeah, he never really got involved in the action. But I would say, predominantly, once Nunes arrived on the scene today, we were doing a bit of hanging on, really, as opposed to actually looking for or anything looking resembling us scoring a third goal. It was definitely more defensive action that was required, which is why the talking points of Conor Bradley, Wataru Endo and Joel Quansah. Yeah, Trent's use of the ball today was odd. I thought defensively it was actually okay, to be honest with you, and produces one wonderful pass as well to Mo. But yeah, he was far too lackadaisical in possession, far too loose. Certainly in the opening 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, it felt like he was his usual self in terms of like his mannerisms, in terms of the casual nature of the way he plays footy. However, it nearly cost us. John says, shows how important Gakpo is to start in 11. Yeah, we made the point earlier on, didn't we? Like, Gakpo's been in fine form, certainly at Anfield, so he was always going to be a miss. I think from an attacking point of view today, I thought we were more or less there or thereabouts in terms of how clinical we've been recently. I think Diaz gets the goal. He anticipates that potential for a goal well, and obviously deals with the penalty really well as well. So yeah, I don't think we were particularly blunt up top, to be honest. That's not to say I wouldn't like Cody Gakpo playing still, though, because the fella's been absolutely immense recently. Are these poor performances exposing glaring gaps in personnel, or is it just fatigue, a slight drop in form? Good question. I would probably have it as just about the latter. I don't know. I don't know how much fatigue can come into today, though, especially when you consider, like, in the past 4 weeks we've had a night off against PSV. Most of the lads have a day off against Plymouth as well. Like, they've been given and they've been afforded more rest than usual, so they should be primed and ready to go for this run of games. Like, everything we've done recently in terms of squad rotation, in terms of handling of the minutes and what have you, has been with this stretch in mind. We're only baby steps of the way into this stretch now, in terms of, it was Everton midweek, it was Wolves today, and those two on paper were arguably the more straightforward games. And I know Everton and the derby, particularly the last one at Goodison, is a different beast entirely. So you can almost treat that as a different conversation completely. However, Wolves and Everton, followed by Villa, City, Newcastle, like, I know which games I would prefer in lots of senses, in terms of the quality. So if we're looking leggy and looking a little bit undercooked second half against Wolves at Anfield, like, we're going to have to get something in the tank at some point. How we do that, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, something's got to give, because we cannot turn up like that again. Simon Cook says, this team hasn't playing regularly. It often has. It definitely often has. And I hope that's the case now. And again, what I would say is, if it was just a little bit of complacency creeping in, and if there was that, there's bigger challenges to come, thought process mentally in second half, because go in at half time today 2-0 up, you might be forgiven for thinking that is game over a little bit. And if that just crept into one or two of the lads' thought processes, and if they start thinking, well, I've got Villa in midweek, so I'm just going to take 5-10% off my performance second half, and then I've got City, so I'm just going to ease off a touch. You can't do that in the Premier League. We nearly found out the hard way today. But yeah, maybe there's something in that. Saul says, hope this is the drop-off phase. Need the team to step up and dominate Aston Villa. Yeah, there's always that thought process whereby, if this is the blip, if our blip was getting knocked out of the FA Cup by Plymouth, dropping points late on against Everton in midweek, and then not quite being completely in control but winning the game against Wolves, I'm comfortable with that blip. Like, give me that blip all day long, and then we'll move on to the next. Now we've got to start performing. Now it's time to really show our teeth and show what we're all about, and show our title credentials as well, I guess. But yeah, exactly this. If this is it, then sign me up. Where do I sign? Shake me hand. We'll move on with our lives. But it just has to be. It just has to be, because I said it a few times already. Played like that second half against these teams we're about to face, and there's a good chance we don't quite come out of it as unscathed as we have done. That's the hope anyway. That's the hope. Yeah. Trent doesn't trust his body at the moment. No sprints, no duels. Passing is just rusty. Yeah, his passing was definitely rusty. And again, he's missed a little bit of footy recently. So, yeah, fingers crossed that's that. FGL, it's fine if it's a wobble, but what evidence is there? There is no evidence it's over. The only evidence that we'll have it is over. The proof will be in the pudding when it comes to that. We just got to trust, hope, and expect that what we've seen over sort of a larger sample size of this side under Arne Slot is what we are. And this last week or so isn't. Like, we've just got to trust that we'll get this right. This has to be a line in the sand. And listen, it's a 3-point line in the sand, so we're being really, really negative here. We've won the game. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't vintage. It's not one that will live long in the memory, but we've won the game. It's from this moment on now, we have to be at it and we have to be in control of situations. Hopefully, starting on Wednesday. And this is a good point. We're not going to win. Not everything will be straightforward. It really won't. I did see that interview, yeah. Is this really the time? I must admit, I'll say it because it's on my mind. I do find it a bit off that is something that's in your consciousness. I must admit. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe he was aware of the interest. He almost certainly was aware of the interest in January, because the interest was real in January. But yeah, I did find it slightly odd that is something he would say, pretty much out of nowhere. But we'll wait and see what happens in the future there, shall we? That's a summer conversation. Definitely. Gino says play Bradley. What? Yeah. Is it just me, or was the VR for Mo's goal weirdly quick? I think it was quick, but I also think it was offside. I haven't seen anything to suggest otherwise just yet. Dan, but do we need to remember that we only have lost one game? You never walk alone. Yeah, I mean, in the league, obviously we do. Yeah, we are a very, very difficult team to beat, and even late on there, like, lesser teams may well have conceded that second goal. I know it sounds stupid, given the fact we conceded twice in midweek and it was late on and in the fashion that it came, obviously. But who knows? We might have just shown a little bit of mental resilience, a little mental fortitude. Joel Conter certainly did. Virgil van Dijk certainly did towards the latter stages. Likewise with Torrendo. That getting over the line might stand us in the best possible stead, because it did look like for a minute Wolves had all the head of steam, they had all the momentum, they were the ones that were finishing that game the stronger, and yet still we find a way of winning the points. That could be fucking massive. Could be absolutely fucking massive. Mikey J, Canate's not injured as far as I'm aware. He just came off at half time because he'd been booked, then he gave away another foul not long after, so I think it was inevitable. I think he was going to come off at the break, to be honest. Sound. I'll start to wrap up this part of the show. Before I do, I'll just dive into the Twitter chat and see what everyone's saying over there. Mark Hanna says, the performance was like last Wednesday and today made me think like the 7-point gap will be gone after our next 3 games. Nice and positive. Arguably against 3 of our toughest opponents in recent years. Decent start, but foot off the gas at the end of the first half. Has to be our worst second 45 this season. I'm probably inclined to agree with that last point, to be honest. Evan says, absolute stinker of a performance, to be honest. Got totally complacent when the second goal went in and gave up even trying after that. To have lower possession of the team just with the relegation zone at home is unforgivable. Couldn't get near them. We were lucky to survive. David Campbell, we were lucky to come out with a win. There's a theme developing here. We're going to struggle against Aston Villa and City next week if we play like that. Yeah, can't disagree with that last point. Kwanzaa, Bradley and Endo won that for us. All 3 bloody brilliant. Passion, fight and desire. That's all we asked for. Grind them out, keep going, says Rob Parker. Goose says that's what champions do. Get over the line no matter what. This stage of the season, 3 points is what matters. On to the next. Keep winning their home games and that will be enough. Okay. I don't mind that last one. That's a bit more a positive way of ending. Claire Dean as well with Joel Conter was superb. He absolutely was superb. In a very testing second half. Like, he was not anything like the catalyst or the reason why we were so off the boil and off the pace in that second 45. His introduction simply coincided with Liverpool not being good, almost to a man, not being able to control anything like the dictation of the terms of the match. And yet still, when called upon, Joel Conter's real involvement in the game were top draw. That goal-saving intervention at the end is absolutely huge, like massive, and may well prove to be bigger than what we're giving it the credit for now. It could be everything come the end of the season. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. C-Max says, doesn't it say something about us that we can play crap and still get the win? A win's a win. Yeah, I spent my entire childhood basically watching United be a bit shit in games of footy and yet still walking away with all 3 points and not really giving a shit either, to be honest with you. So I'm more than happy to do exactly the same. Absolutely. Salander says, hope it's a big confidence boost for Quansah. Yeah, Amor Fati says, I expect Endo to get more minutes from here until the end of the season. I don't think we'll be seeing much of Wataru Endo in terms of starts, to be honest. I think it'll still be a case of as and when required, and when sort of the situation determines that Endo is the right guy, and he definitely was that today. Regan with a super chat says, what happened for the second pen? Honestly, Diogo Jota dived. And what makes it all the more annoying is that I don't think he needed to. I think if he stays on his feet, he gets a decent shot away at goal, or at least an opportunity for a decent shot away at goal. But yet, for some reason, he thought the better option was to initiate a little bit of contact himself and hit the deck. And at that point, it was 2-0. That's an opportunity to put the game to bed. And really sort of, you could have allowed for complacency at 3-0 probably, because you just get over the line regardless. At 2-0 with Wolves threatening, it was a bit shit. It was a bit annoying. At full speed, it did look a clear pen. It was given on pitch, because I'm not surprised at all, because it looked like a pen. But yeah, when you slow it down, you can clearly see that it's Jota. Jota makes the contact happen. So I'll start to wrap up this part of the show and head over to player rankings. Let's do that together, shall we? Because on my own, it's all a little bit pointless. I go over to the board and rank the players from boss sound to your messing. So I need you guys to come and do that with me. Yeah, let's do that. Look forward to it. I'll see you over there in like a minute and a bit. Bye for now.